Hey guys, this is a special one. I'm in Salt Lake City and I'm hanging out with like half the Magnum team here. This is awesome. So we got Corey, Jesse, Callaway, and then Spencer from High Country Electric Bikes. You said West Jordan, it's just near Salt Lake City?
Yep, just outside of Salt Lake, yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
You know, I was gonna do my normal thing, like go through the bike and talk about all the specs and stuff, but maybe kind of in the middle and towards the end, I wanted Callaway to ride it and get the perspective, and then I wanted to talk to you about why you carry it. So do you mind if I'm gonna jump in, hit some of the specs, and we'll be right back with these guys. So we're looking at the Magnum Metro. This is a really cool bike. It's very much like the Magnum UI5, which is it's like a $16.99 price point bike, relatively affordable, but it uses a more efficient motor, right? 350 watts versus 500 watts on this one, DOS kit motor, the same company that makes this display. And I really like the display. We'll come back to that in a minute. This one also has a 48 volt 13 amp hour pack versus 36 volt. So 48 is a little bit more powerful, more efficient energy transfer in terms of the electricity and stuff. So for climbing, for going a little bit further, and if you want to go high speed, this is a speed pedelec, up to 28 miles per hour pedal assist, 20 miles per hour on that throttle. It costs $19.99. So for the $300 additional dollars, you're getting all the drivetrain stuff I talked about and hydraulic disc brakes, 180 millimeter. For someone who's looking for a lower step bike, something that's easier to get on versus having to swing your foot over and maybe even clink your shin on the rack, this is going to be more approachable. I believe it comes in black and white, right? Yeah. So, you know, we were just looking at the Metro Plus a minute ago. This is the diamond, higher step, a little bit larger frame. Also comes in black and white, but I think traditionally it's kind of like a his and hers thing. Having a black color option on this step-thru means that the person who has a sensitive hip, or the guy like me, I'm 5'9", who just wants an easier to approach platform, this is still a really good option. And again, compared to the UI5, this has an 8-speed Shimano Acera. That's 2 steps up from Shimano Tourney, which is the base level on the UI5. Okay, so that costs more, they charge more, it makes sense. I just wanted to give you that perspective comparing these bikes. At the very end, we've got a Magnum Peak, which is their high-speed, like throttle power off-road hardtail electric bike, and it uses the same drive system. I remember reviewing this a while back, and I commented on the controller being sort of externalized right there. It blends in really nicely with black, but they had to do that because this is sending more amps. It's a more powerful system. So the same system on this trail bike as we've got on these commuters. I think that's really great for someone maybe weighs a little bit more, carrying more gear, or just likes that zippier feel. You're still going to have to help a little bit if you're starting on an incline from zero, but once you get going, this motor is fairly capable. And before we started filming, you might notice that there's some dust on the fender right here, and the pedal. The bike tipped over because I was propping it up for photos. We got a gust of wind, and nothing was damaged back here on this drivetrain. So looking at that Acera derailleur and the cable for the motor, that's what sends electricity from the battery and the controller to the motor, it's protected because they've got this derailleur guard. I love that. That's a nice little extra that not all the bikes have. Magnum sells predominantly through shops, but if you're someone who lives in a remote area where there's no dealer, they ship it, and that's going to protect it even on its way to you. It's a little bit more vulnerable than some of like the mid-drives and stuff in general, and there are more cables back here, but the way that they're protecting it is solid. I like that, and I wanted to call it out. Pretty relevant today. They've also got a slap guard here and a chain guard, so if you're riding with pants like I am, maybe you're commuting to work, trying not to get all sweaty and stuff, but you don't want your pants to get like greasy or snagged. I like the bash guard. I do think that maybe they could have like another rail or some sort of protector on the inside so that the chain won't bounce off, because that has happened to me occasionally, especially on bouncy terrain. The chain can flop off and then you get your hands greasy. So that's a consideration for the future. I love that they've got Wellgo platform pedals. These are some of my favorites. They're a little bit larger. So if you have medium or even large size feet, you're going to be able to transfer energy without having your shoe sort of slip off to the side. And if it's wet and you're using those fenders, your feet aren't going to slip off because of those metal nubs. They aren't quite as sharp as adjustable pins, but they're still grippy enough. It's like a perfect happy medium, and those aren't super expensive, so if you damage one, you can replace them pretty easily. Just worth calling out. Like some of the little touch points on this bike are very nice. Aluminum alloy fenders, full length. We've got rubberized little flaps at the end, and that's nice because if you're pedaling and you turn and you bump that, or maybe you're going over a big curb or something, it's gonna flex versus getting damaged. And if you scratch these, they're aluminum versus steel, so they're not gonna rust. Suspension fork here, not the world's nicest fork, but it gets the job done. 63mm travel, love that it's color matched. There's no lockout or preload or anything, which means that if you really bear down on those hydraulic brakes, you know, your weight shifts forward and you can get some dive, so the bike kind of shifts forward with you. But that's not a huge deal. I mean, you know, a lot of times with suspension, lockout was for mountain bikes. It's like you're climbing a hill and you feel the bike bobbing and you lose some energy in the process. That's not a big deal if you have a motor assist, and that's only a hardtail, right? There's no rear suspension, which is where a lot of that bobbing energy loss would happen. I was talking about the suspension, and Corey, you're a mechanic at Magnum, right?
That's right, I am. I'm the service manager down at Magnum, so.
Excellent, you know, right here at the factory store in Utah.
Yes, beautiful.
You know, we got to talking, and it sounds like these smooth caps here, I was assuming like, oh, there's no adjustment, there was nothing down at the bottom, and then you showed me that you can actually pop them off. So we're looking at the Metro Plus here. It uses the same shock, and there's an adjustment down there, maybe like a preload adjust. Can you explain how that works?
It is a preload adjustment. It's kind of hidden, as we found, but yeah, it just basically stiffens up the spring as you increase it. There is clicks that you'll feel, so you want to kind of count the clicks on each side.
Kind of match them up.
And yep, exactly. But yeah, it will kind of stiffen up the suspension for you.
Okay, and you were explaining that you usually dial them up a little bit anyway.
Absolutely, right out of the box, to be honest with you, I usually increase them all the way, just because on this particular style of bike, suspension isn't usually much of something that's needed.
Yeah.
So you typically want the suspension as stiff as it can go.
Especially the Metro over here. This one has the larger tires, larger diameter, more air, a little bit more compression happening there. I shouldn't say that. This might have just as much air because it's 28-inch versus 26. The point being, it has a lot of other comfort-oriented touch points. But it's nice to know that there is some adjustment with the shock. I stand corrected. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. They've got a suspension seat post. 40mm travel, 27.2mm diameter, so you could replace this with a nicer one, but the fact that it comes with one at all is really great. Celluroyale Freeway gel saddle, very comfortable, and I love how nicely it matches those grips. Ergonomic, a little bit fatter so your hands don't feel quite as tense if you're riding a lot and really bearing down on those grips. Got a little bell and an adjustable angle stem, 100mm, so you can bring that way up. In fact, that's kind of what we did over here on the Metro Plus. It's a little bit higher, and then I was able to kind of have an upright body position. My neck and back weren't feeling quite as sensitive as they do sometimes when you're on like a trail bike and you're more aggressive and sporty. So I love how adjustable all this is. Keep an eye on this over time. If you go off-road and you're really bearing down on this, those can get loose a little bit. So you want to, you know, as with everything, anytime there's a moving part, there's a little more sensitive. If you're lifting the bike by the saddle, this part here, the suspension piece, can get a little bit, you know, a little bit of play in it. But overall, not bad. And I love the way that they've designed the frame to protect the battery, but still have it integrated and keeping that low weight very evenly distributed across the bike. And the tires on this one, that's another high point. So we've got Schwalbe Big Bends. These are 26 by 2.15, a little bit fatter, and they still have reflective sidewall stripes. But if we compare that to the regular Metro over here, these are 28, so 26 to 28. These are going to have a little bit more efficiency with rolling, but they also elevate the bike and give you that larger feel versus the smaller, more approachable, lower step feel. I totally appreciate that. I think my only complaint in terms of geometry is the way the rack is set up. It's very capable, but it's 25 kilogram max weight, 55 pounds. You've got a bungee cord built right in and some pannier blockage. It's not perfect. There could be a little bit more blockage back here, but I think the fender and even the fender support arm are going to protect your spokes and your wheel from dragging on your bags. The challenge is if you have like a trunk bag right here and you lower the saddle, they're going to collide. So you need to move the saddlebag back a little bit or your saddle forward. And it's just kind of, you know, there's a little bit of adjusting you might have to do in order to get that saddle all the way down. For people who like to, it's kind of a, you know, like, let's pretend I'm over the bike and I'm actually sitting at the same time. See, I need to like really lower that saddle. Some people want that sense of comfort and control and safety, but then it compromises what you can do with that rack. Also, they have really nice lights, Spaninga Solo in the rear, but it's independent. It's powered by 2 AAA batteries versus being wired in and taking advantage of that huge battery pack. So what that means is every time it gets dark, you need to like pull over, press the power button, and then hop back on your bike. And then you get home, everything else might be distracting you, kids, family, putting your stuff away. Remember to turn off that light or it's going to be out of batteries next time you want to use it. Thankfully, the headlight is integrated, but there is a trade-off there too. So I'm going to power on the display. I can even backlight the display by tapping that power button again, but it doesn't turn on the light. In order to do that, you need to press the power button on top of this light. It's not going to run out of batteries the same way the other one is, I don't think. Actually, let's turn it off and see. So turn off the display panel, and it's still going. I don't know. I feel like that might power off over time. The point is, this has a lot more energy to draw from, but it still requires that extra step. One step that they've removed from this bike is you don't have to press power on the battery and then power on the display. There's just a one-step process up here now, which I appreciate. It's a little bit more convenient to get to the bike. Hold that power button for a second, the display comes on, and I like how large it is. You can imagine sitting way up high and looking down and still getting all that feedback about how fast you're going, how far you've gone, how full the battery is. 5 ticks versus percentage, or maybe 10 ticks. It's not quite as precise, but it's not uncommon in the space. Speed in the middle. Power, there's a little chart that goes up and down depending on how much power the energy, power the motor is sucking from that battery. And then assist levels, you can go all the way down to 0 and still use that throttle at any time. So that's great. It's nice that you have full control, but let's imagine you turn the bike on and then bump that throttle. It could get away from you a little bit, so I don't want to be like alarmist, but it's something to think about. This is a more advanced bike in a sense. It gives you control, but it also requires a little bit more focus, attention. There are 6 levels of assist, and I like that you can go all the way around. So you can go from 0 and press minus all the way up to 6, which is the highest level. And assist works really well. It uses a cadence sensor right down here. It's sealed, it's compact, it's much nicer than the old world sensors, and it's fairly responsive, but it doesn't measure your torque, it doesn't measure wheel speed, it's just cadence. So you have to be turning those cranks to get going. And if you're starting from standstill and you forgot to switch down to a lower gear, that can take a minute to do. So that's why the throttle is so nice, because at any time you can just accelerate, get yourself going. But in order to really maximize that range, I would accelerate smoothly, so you're not like, you know, really taking advantage of it. I've gone over things quickly here and hopefully given you a good perspective and some thoughts on trade-offs and how to approach this bike. I love that they managed to squeeze on bottle cage bosses right here. Even though they might get in the way if you're mounting the bike, you don't want to kick your bottle cage. Some people would still want to do that, or use it for a mini pump or a folding lock if you weren't doing the saddlebags and stuff. Whew, okay, so I wanted to ask Spencer why you guys carry this bike, you know, who gets it and what your thoughts are.
We like this bike. It's a great bike. A lot of people that are looking for a more premium feel, but don't have all the money to jump up to the 5,000 or 4,000 range. With a mixture of the design and how comfortable it is, and the torque, the power feels really great. They're happy with it. They'll go between this one and other bikes, and they'll pick these. And as a tech, I love these bikes out of the box have a lot less work to do on them. Everything's lined up, the rotors are straight, everything, shifter's always maybe just a click off. And that says a lot about a company, so it's fun. We don't get a lot of issues with them or anything, so it's a
How long have
bike.
you guys carried Magnum?
Oh, I don't know. How long has it been?
I think it's been about a year.
About a year now, yeah.
About a year.
They've been
okay.
great.
So that's good. You've got some actual time with them.
Yeah, some serious time, a lot of test rides with people, and they love the looks, and they're comfortable. It's a good feel.
Do you have any advice for someone who gets this bike, things to pay attention to help it last, like how to take care of the battery or anything like that?
Just your basic, your standard battery care.
It's like not to avoid super
Yeah,
hot,
don't
avoid
do hot
super
stuff.
cold.
Yeah, wintertime, bring it in.
Yeah, in Salt Lake City, I suppose that's really relevant.
Yeah, it gets cold. Yeah, just your general stuff, nothing too crazy. They're a pretty straightforward bike.
Okay, great. And yeah, back to the price point, $19.99. Jesse, can you tell me what you guys have on in terms of warranty and stuff?
Yeah, we're doing a 1-year warranty on the bike, same as all our bikes. Pretty simple.
Okay.
That's going to cover, you know, the frame, all the electric parts, and any costs of service.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's nice, kind of a comprehensive, we'll take care of you setup. And you have the shop, so if you get this from a dealer, it's going to be set up in terms of, you know, maybe the saddle height and getting those wheels and the brakes and everything aligned. Yep. You know, I love that. That's the dream, right? You go into a dealer, you get some help, find a bike that fits your budget and fits your lifestyle, and then have some support. And I love that you're actually sharing the system across so many of your bikes now in terms of the battery and the motor and the display, because if there is a problem, it's an easy fix.
Absolutely. Magnum Bikes keeps all of the parts on hand under our own thumb. Keeping it simple like this allows us to service the customer.
Okay. Callaway, do you have anything to add?
No, they're great bikes. People love them. I see people riding them around town, and
Yeah.
maybe one day I'll get one for myself too.
How about taking a ride on this one today?
sure.
Do you
I'd
want to
love
do that?
to.
I want to see what it looks like, yeah, with someone on it. And it only comes in the one size, but the adjustable stem and the adjustable seat post really, you know, they give you some range here. And there's those fatter tires. giving you some of that comfort. You just like do a circle and then maybe brake test back here?
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Oh yeah, nice. That was awesome. I'm gonna hop on. Yeah. Will you mind hopping on the the Metro Plus over there, and we can ride next to each other?
Go grab it.
Okay, so it looks like he was only in pedal assist 1. I'm gonna take it all the way up to 6, so you can hear the motor and get a sense for how responsive that pedal assist is. So I'm on it, moving my pedals. Nice. Braking with one hand, feeling pretty smooth. Got the display down there. Sweet, buddy. How about we switch? That way I can see you on this bike and... Okay, let's just do it. We'll go up this road over here. You can see that suspension activating a little bit when he stops and when he's pedaling, putting a little more energy into it. Hey, let's come to a stop, like right here, almost a complete stop, and now let's throttle it from 0. Ready?
Yeah.
Don't kick off, just throttle it. He kicked off a little bit. The point I was trying to make is that it's fairly capable climbing. Neither of us are that heavy, but if this hill was much steeper, you might have to pedal a little bit because the motor would kind of groan. I'll try to show that. I'm gonna do a bit of off-roading here. Notice there's not a lot of noise being made by those fenders. Do you think there's a hill in this neighborhood? Let's find one.
Let's just go down the street.
And let's trade off again, like maybe over here.
Okay.
Stop test. We've got our hill. Okay, we're gonna trade me up. Remember guys, I only weigh 135 pounds. Yeah, it's interesting switching back and forth. Like the reach is a little bit shorter on this bike. About 58 pounds versus 59, a little bit lighter, a little bit less frame material. So here's our hill. It's not like the world's biggest hill or anything. I'm gonna go about halfway and then I'm gonna stop. And now we're just gonna throttle it. So here we go. Not bad, no problem. Just kicks right off. A little bit of grass. Oh yeah, off-road. It's doing fine. We're climbing and we're off-road right now. Heard a little bit of noise, these keys banging around. Maybe the kickstand. Very good, very capable. I'm impressed. This is a fun one. I think this is one of my favorite Magnum bikes right now because it's just so utilitarian. It's got all the different parts you want. Yeah, the lights are a little bit inconvenient to turn on and off, but it's powerful, it looks good, it's safe, especially the white. It's gonna be reflective from the side along with those reflective tires. Okay, so we were back. Corey was giving me some more advice about the lights and stuff. These LED lights draw very little energy, but that front light does stay on, so make sure you turn it off when you're parked. And look at this, they've upgraded the connector. So now it can be disconnected easily, or if you like really turn the handlebars a lot and that cable gets pulled, it's not gonna like rip the cable out, it's just gonna disconnect, and it makes this a lot easier to replace and it just looks a lot cleaner. So props to you guys, that's one of the little things. You're always upgrading like little things. I wanted to give you a close-up on the charger as well. It's like 1.5 pounds, 2 amps, not the fastest charger in the world, it's kind of standard. Plugs into the base of the battery pack, so be careful. If you've got that plugged in and that crank arm spins by, you don't want to snag that and break it or something. But there is that USB port up top. relatively easy to reach and use to charge your phone or other accessories. I like that this battery has it. You can even use it if the battery's off the bike, so it's like backup energy. So that's the charging port. And then I'd asked Corey to take the battery off of the Metro Plus over here so you can see it. It's got like a little handle, relatively easy to carry around. I think it weighs about 9 pounds.
It is, yep, just over 9 pounds.
Lithium ion cells. They're known for being long lasting, relatively lightweight. It's heavier because it's a big pack. You know, it gives you that power for climbing. 18650 cells?
Yep, lots of them, yes.
And then this is what the frame looks like without it in. So it's a semi-integrated design. There's that controller at the bottom. Same thing. And in this case, the black accents and everything blend in pretty well. And then I frequently call out the kickstand. So, you know, there is a bit of a collision that can happen here if you're backing up the bike or you spin that. So just be careful about the kickstand. Be careful about that charging port. And then this is adjustable. So make sure you adjust it so it doesn't tip and you end up banging up your handlebars like we did earlier. So you can see the Metro and the Metro Plus over here. And it's interesting because this one doesn't have bottle cage bosses. I think they just weren't able to fit them here with the triangle tube. And then sometimes you put them on top, and you know, how useful is that when it's a high step? So that's kind of a neat plus there. And then I wanted to show the display panel with the backlighting. So if I turn it on, see, it's really nice and visible. And that headlight, oh, there we go, super bright. Feeling very stable. Not getting any speed wobble here, and that's important on a speed pedelec. I think that's about it, guys. I've had a lot of fun on this bike. Callaway, I appreciate your help. Shout out to High Country Electric Bikes here, and of course Magnum. It's fun to see the bikes side by side. Thanks for sweating it out with me on this beautiful day. Have fun out there, you guys. I hope this helps you out. Feel free to comment with questions or anything. Ride safe.